All right,
Okay.
guys, welcome to the Mortgage Mentor podcast. I am here with the one and the only Andrew Haggith. Andrew is a real estate agent from Calgary, Alberta. Probably one of my oldest and best friends, and it just so happens that we're in this industry together. And yeah, so welcome to the podcast, Drew.
Thanks, man. Definitely oldest
Definitely old, yeah, longest.
and best and best. Who am I kidding?
Well,
But
it's like,
we
yeah,
go back.
can you really the quality on a friendship like this? I don't think so.
There's a lot of history.
There's I remember so Drew and I, for those of you who know anything about kind of my world before mortgages, so
Yeah,
I was playing in the bands, and I did a bunch of music stuff, and so Drew and I played music in high school together, and we met I
yeah,
think grade eight. I was grade eight, I think,
yeah.
and
It's like grade 9 or 10.
yeah, so we've been kind of tight ever since, and so he's been just killing it in the real estate game in Calgary. So if by any chance anyone is listening to this in Calgary, Drew is your main guy to go to. And yeah, so today though, actually, Drew, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey, a little about your story, and what brought you to where you are today. No pressure.
Not starting at the homeschool days when we met,
I
or
just want to
we.
go way back then. Yeah, we don't want to get all socially awkward up in here. So
No, so, I can talk professionally, I guess.
sure.
Um, so I was before this finishing carpenter, did cabinetry, yeah, built-ins and baseboard, windows, all that kind of stuff. Here in Calgary, got started with my brother-in-law and did that for about 10 years. And so the whole, I guess, transition to real estate came out of that. We did a lot of realtors' homes
Mm,
and just working with clients, getting to know them. A lot of people were like, "You should be in real estate," and I heard that a bunch, and from realtors and other people. And I finally decided that I'd give it a shot, and that was in my 8th year now. Um, but yeah, it took. I always found we get into a house for a few months at a time, and we'd be working away, and everyone's piecework. So we're only paid on what we do, right? So people would show up and we'd be like setting up tools, and then it's like grab the stuff and start building because you only get paid when you're building. You can set up the house and make $0, right?
mm,
But once you start building, you start making money.
yeah,
But I would always end up talking because that's what I do. I like talking to people
yeah,
and hearing stories. I was always curious. I'm like, what do these people do? We're in a massive house downtown or a
mm,
beautiful acreage. What do they do?
yeah.
What's their story? And so yeah, a lot of relationships made that way, and I think it just was a natural progression for me that I saw my gifting was communication and relationship, and then kind of dove into that a little bit more and thought real estate would be a good channel for me. So that's how I ended up here, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I remember so back eight, you said you've been doing it for 8 years. So 8 years ago,
Yeah,
you stepped away from the finishing carpentry thing to do the real estate thing. And you're like, I'm
yeah,
gonna try to do this new biz, this
yeah.
new angle. And which I think it's you're so perfect for it because you've got obviously a great communication skill, but also your experience in the finishing carpentry, you can really speak to homes and speak to the value of a
Mm,
home because you've been actually working in them for so long. You really
yeah,
speak. But I remember when I was stepping off and starting my own business as well. And so we kind of
yeah,
went in tandem a little bit. We're like, all right, how are we doing? How's this going to work out? And I've since pivoted back into the real estate world through mortgages. But it's been really cool to see that growth for you and being like, yeah, I'm kind of doing a bit this year and then a little bit more the next year and just
hmm
that steady progression and
yeah.
just to see your success now, I think is just the coolest thing.
Thanks, man. It's yeah, it's pretty special. It's really slow. I think there's like a kind of an image of a realtor.
Mm,
There's the greasy image that no one likes, and there's definitely those, but there's also the image of wild success and high-end cars and beautiful homes and expensive clothes and things like that. That's just not the reality when
mm,
you start. You come out of school and you're like, okay, I know how not to get sued, essentially.
right.
Like that's what
Right.
they teach you.
Yeah.
Um, but you don't know anything.
Mm,
And thankfully for me, I had a building block of building, so I did know the home side of it.
sure.
But it took me forever. You know,
Yeah.
you sell 3 houses in your first year, and you're working still full time as a carpenter till you can make that transition. But it takes time and it's organic growth, and I think ultimately long term, that's what you want.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, man. And that's there's so much wisdom in that too, because I feel like people want like a silver bullet. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
want this thing that just like takes off and takes them to where they want to go. But it's like anything, it's just that diligence, that consistency, that perseverance over the long haul. And a
totally.
lot of people who are speaking like of fast results, oftentimes they're either trying to sell something or trying to project an image that, maybe
Yeah.
maybe they were lucky, or maybe they were given a hand up, or you never really know. But it's kind of compare yourself to where you were yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Rather than comparing
Mhm.
yourself to other people around,
Yeah.
because especially in the real estate industry, mortgages included, there's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
like, yeah, how, you see kind of what people are doing, especially with social media. And so to be
Yeah.
able to strip that down a little bit and be like, how can I just build the best business I can day over day, serve my
Yeah.
clients, make this world a better place through this way that I'm able to help people,
For
and
sure.
trust in the process, man.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, realistically, I'm somewhat stubborn. I think you probably have known that over the years, but that was always my mindset is,
Yeah,
people fall off in this industry so quick
yeah,
because everyone thinks it's easy and they're gonna just shoot to the top, and some do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
for them, I didn't, and it took time, right? But yeah, it's a slow burn that gets
Yeah.
you there. And
But now you're in a place where you're the sole breadwinner of your home. You
yep,
got two daughters. You are doing really, really well. And but it's just this gradual thing, and that's just been, it's inspirational because you'd be like, year two,
yeah,
year three, like don't give up. Just like
totally,
roll with it, stay diligent, keep going.
yeah. I honestly, my mindset going into real estate was that this is not going to be fun for the first little while. Like I was excited, but I knew full
Yeah,
well who wants to buy a house from me? What do I know?
yeah,
You know what I mean? I know about homes, but do I know about the inner workings of a contract and terms and conditions and things like that? And the answer is no, you
yeah,
don't. You learn them, and you have to, humble yourself and ask a lot of questions that are sometimes awkward and embarrassing to admit that you just don't know.
yeah,
Um, but you get there and you do learn. And if you're at it long enough, you come out on top, right? So
yeah.
that was my mindset going in, is that I just was not going to give up on it.
Cool.
Uh, and yeah, it was probably year 3 or 4 in there
Yep.
before I was actually just doing it full time.
Yeah.
So it took time, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Good, man. That's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway,
Well, thank you for being here. So, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk today about real estate and mortgage horror stories, and not horror stories in a scary sense, horror stories and like when things just go wrong in a weird way. So we're not gonna. These are stories. I don't know any of these stories personally at all. So I'm just gonna. I went to Reddit. I don't know. I found some stuff on Reddit, being like, oh, what can we find here? So we'll compare
yeah.
this a little bit, and so we'll speak to the story a little, but then also maybe if you're like, okay, this is maybe what I would have done differently to avoid this, or maybe,
Mhm.
how could we make the situation a little better? Or maybe sometimes you can. It's just people are crazy sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you're just accepting it, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also did a little bit of homework, but I don't know if we're gonna have similar stuff here, but we'll see.
we'll see. Okay, do you want to go first?
If not, I can go to the well of actual horror stories
Yeah.
from my
We've done it
career.
long enough now. You're just like, oh boy, here we go.
Okay, yeah, I got one that I found that I thought was hilarious, and it's so funny to me that I don't know if it's real, but I have to believe it is.
Okay. Okay.
Um, it was shared by a man named Herman Chan,
That's
and title was "You Can't Make This Stuff Up," and it's simply talking about what we're talking about.
okay.
So this story is from California,
Yep.
and this agent called to say he was going to be running a little bit late for the first showing with these new clients, but
Yep.
he was on his way. He's coming. Um, so the clients said, no problem. They took some extra time, drove around just to check out the condo complex, see what the amenities, all that stuff. As they return to the parking lot, a car comes flying in, rounds the corner, slides into the side of their rental car. They were just visiting from out of state. They wanted to buy a place in California. They see this car come flying around the corner, slams into the rental car. Driver gets out of the car and says, "Don't tell me you're the Milburns." So they spend the next hour or so sorting out insurance and claims, all that kind of stuff. And then he said, "So should we continue the home tour?"
That's amazing.
Which to me would be like, yikes, that's
Oh
terrible.
man. Well, hitting anyone with your car would just be like mortifying, but then to be like,
Yeah.
and I have to be your realtor now.
And honestly, that like I can relate to that. People coming out of province in our scenario, I've had
Yeah.
that numerous times. People fly in and you're meeting them at the airport or you're meeting them at their
Yeah.
hotel to drive them out to see properties. You don't know them.
Yeah.
I know of you through a referral or
Yeah.
found you on the internet. There's no relationship there. So in the first like, minute of meeting them, you're really cognizant of like, this is who I am. You can
Yeah.
trust me. The idea of
Yeah.
like coming around a corner and slamming into their car was just like, horrifying to me.
That is well, and it's like in anything, but especially in this business, there's so much of it's like first impression. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you wanna be professional and you wanna be kind, like
totally.
everywhere in your life, right? But then if you kind of come in and it gives you like, well, you just bumped in my car. At least if it was a rental and not
That's
their outright.
true.
So
Hopefully they got the insurance.
hopefully they got the insurance, or that realtor is really gonna hope that deal goes through in order to pay
Yeah,
for the damages.
seriously.
Love it. Okay, okay,
Oh,
I got one here.
great.
Okay, here we go. So this is from a user on Reddit called I'm Just a Medium. Don't know what that means. Okay. While we were signing the last of the paperwork, they're going in for the mortgage, getting everything signed. I noticed one of the aliases that returned from the credit bureau had my name with a middle initial. I've never had a middle name in my life. Definitely had me second guessing for a minute. As my title officer was instructing me what to do, she mentioned another couple who came in to sign their final paperwork, and the wife's credit report returned some names with entirely different last names. Because when we put things through, get the credit report, and then as you're signing everything, the lawyer is like, okay, you have to confirm that this person is the same as this person, is the same as this person, depending on what names come up, right?
Gotcha.
That's when her
Yep.
current husband, sitting right next to her, found out she was previously married. She tried to get him to continue signing the final docs and said they can talk about it later, but they didn't end up finishing their docs and never closed on the house.
That's insane.
Is that wild?
That's actually insane.
I mean, I feel like in this situation like that, you would probably like you don't need to know everything about your spouse's past, but knowing whether they'd be married or not, I'd say is probably
Yeah,
one.
that's a big deal. When do you bring that up? Is that a second date kind of thing? Or
Well, I think before the marriage and before the
probably
home
first?
purchase,
Holy, that's insane.
wild.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, no, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah,
But
you see some
it
things.
is. It always surprises me. Yeah, you meet people and they're like, we're all similar age or younger, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been married once or twice before, and
Yeah,
you're like, I have no idea. I've only known you as this person's husband or wife, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's crazy to not say anything.
I know. Well, and it's crazy how things like that, like, it's funny. I feel like get moving the process of like getting a mortgage, it's almost like cleansing. You know what I mean? Your
Hmm.
finances are like they're all there. You
Yeah,
can kind of put it off to the side and forget about it. But then once you're getting to house, like see all the numbers, all the money, all the debts, it's right
yeah,
there. And then all the legal stuff, the title and the property and your names. And it's just like such a okay, we're getting it all out here. And
yeah.
so, for 99% of the time, there aren't any surprises. But when there are the surprises especially for the other person, then that's a
They're
thing.
big.
So I
That's
don't know how you would avoid that other than just encourage everyone that you know to be like, if just talk to your spouse and let them know whether you've been married or not before.
yeah, that's a relationship issue.
It's true. Words of advice. Words of advice
Be
right here.
curious to know if they're still together. I mean, that's some big
Well,
secrets.
well, you hope so. You hope so. You want the second time to win out, right? You want them to stay together. All right,
Fair,
but yeah, here we are.
fair enough. Well, here's one for you.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Got a few that are pretty gnarly, so I'm trying to rank.
Okay, all right.
We gotta,
Yeah, yeah,
gotta start like
changing the names so there are no one can be identified
this
here.
is this was also a Reddit find,
Okay.
and so that's when you said Reddit. I'm like, oh, we might have some different stuff, but there's so
Yeah.
many different threads.
Oh yeah.
Um, okay, we're going to look at a home.
Yeah.
We informed the seller. We got word it's okay to show in 15 minutes. So they're on
Yeah.
the way to the house. We show up, and a 50-year-old potbelly dad is sitting on the couch with his shirt off in just overalls watching TV. And he's like, well, okay, come on in.
Love it.
Weirdest thing about this is how immaculate this house was. Perfectly clean, modern layout, clean
Yeah.
renovations in the kitchen, both bathrooms, no odd smells. Even the backyard was quite nice.
No way.
But here's dad in the house in his overalls, no shirt on, a good 300 pounds of him, very hairy. The kind of hairs that are so long, if he was wearing a collared shirt, they would stick out over his neck. Uh,
No way.
bald. I first thought maybe a friend or relative was house sitting, then nope, walk down the hall and they still have family photos hanging all over, and there's dad shirtless in literally every single family photo on the wall, with the exception of one seemingly planned photo, like a Christmas photo shoot.
Nice.
Uh, he just stayed there sprawled out on the couch the entire time.
Wow.
Most
That is
awkward thing ever.
amazing. It's like a gorilla in your
Yeah.
house.
I mean, I just love that he stayed there, and then seeing the pictures is incredible.
You know what? I gotta say, I almost have like a high amount of admiration for people that are just like,
Yeah,
I am what I am. I come as I am. This
totally.
is me. You're just like,
Yeah.
all right, well,
Drink it in. I just love that he never wrote character. He's the shirtless
Oh,
guy. That's
yes.
his thing. He's in overalls all the time.
Every
You
photo.
see this, yeah, every photo. You see this actually a lot in rentals.
Mm,
Like people have a really good thing going and they
yep.
do not want to get out of the house. This is
Mhm.
a little different because it's his house, but even the house I'm standing in right now, when we bought it, there was a tenant laying on the couch. I don't think he had a shirt on and he just had pajama pants.
No way.
He was just watching like Maury or something, some kind of daytime
No
trashy TV.
way, dude.
We walked in and he just like kind of looked at the door and he's kind of like, and our realtor at the time, she's like, "Did your realtor not tell you we were coming?" And she
Yeah.
said, "He's like, yeah, no, have a look around." And
Yeah.
just like he had like stu the place was a mess. But then we are like, I like kind of like the house though.
Yeah.
But I've seen that so many times with
Yeah.
tenants. People just yeah, just come on in.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the best ones, kind of related to that, when I was brand new,
Yeah.
like completely green, first year of real estate, someone took a chance with me and asked me to be their agent. I was like, sweet. We were similar age, so I was like, this will be fun. It'll be pretty
Yeah.
laid back.
Yeah.
We go and the first group of showings, so I'm still pretty new to this. He's like, my dad wants to come as well to look
Mm.
at them. I'm like, yeah, no worries, because I was confident in the home side of things, right? So I'm
Sure.
like,
Yep.
I know I can talk about a house and I know I can help them and help them understand. I'm not going to be left there with my mouth wide open,
Yeah.
unsure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
remember the first place we went, we knock on the door, and this lady answers the door, and I gave the same thing. Did your realtor not tell you we were coming? Because she was just
Yeah.
kind of like in her pajamas or whatever, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh no, they did." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, are you just gonna step out for a minute, or?"
Yeah.
And then she like rolls up her pant leg, and she had an ankle monitor on.
What?
Yeah, she's like, "I can't leave." No.
Way.
And it was so funny because this is like I'm pretty conservative,
Yeah.
pastor's kid. So that world to me is like the furthest thing from my reality. But she's like, I literally can't leave. I have to stay. And it was funny because they were also from similar background. And the dad was like, ah, we don't need to see it. We just turned around at the door. But yeah, tenants and put your shirt on if you want to sell it.
Yeah, the little things, right? But so it's
Yeah,
like as a real estate agent and even as a seller of your home, you want to make sure you're preparing it for retail, right? Like that's why
totally.
staging companies, you're trying to make it look all nice and stuff.
Yeah.
But then there are certain things when you have a tenant that are beyond your control. It's like, all right, I don't know.
Honestly, people that, yeah, like the for sale by owners, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
I'm fine with any of that. My problem it comes when people want to stay. And it's always the case.
Yeah.
They think that they can sell their house to a potential buyer better than a realtor can. So they
Huh.
stay. And
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
awkward because you bring in your clients, you want to look around, you want to have honest conversation.
Yeah.
And this person's just hovering. He's like, so we did replace these baseboards or this floor. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I see them actually hurting themselves more than helping, but it's always entertaining.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that's why the whole like for sale by owner thing has never really taken off because people
Yeah.
realize that when you're dealing with a huge asset like that, it's worth it to bring a realtor that you can trust into the
Yeah.
conversation and be like, okay, how are we going to price this thing? How are we going to sell it? And then, you know,
Yeah, have a third party that's not emotionally invested like
yeah.
you are as a seller.
Yeah, exactly. And also just they're removed enough from it too, right? Because like where you live, like you think, I think my place is worth so much more probably than it is. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it's your
totally.
house. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
no, that's
great.
fair. That's fair.
That's great, man. Man, oh man. All right. All right. Okay, so here this one from Lemon Lemmings on Reddit. So it says we were
Hmm.
supposed to close this past Monday. On the Wednesday before, I called my realtor and asked her when we were doing our final walkthrough because we knew that the sellers were closing on a new house the same day we were closing. So when are they getting out of the house? She calls me back Thursday and says the seller's lender for their new house denied their loan on Wednesday. Again, closing Monday. So
Yeah.
not the whole lot of time. So they're working on getting another lender. They had half of a mortgage application done already with another company, and they can transfer the appraisal over. We can close Friday instead. Turns out the lender who denied them also never requested the appraisal, which they paid for already and everything. So they had a rush appraisal done on Monday by the new lender, and we're hoping to close on the day later on that week. At this point, I'll believe it when they hand me the keys. So we still don't know in the story whether they even got the house or not.
That's insane.
Wild. Because it's like, this is the thing. Like timing is such a huge part of this entire conversation.
Yeah.
And so you need to make sure that everything is in line from the financing side of it well in advance of the closing date, because
Yeah,
otherwise you're scrambling at the last minute and it's stressful for everyone where it can either be the most stressful experience in the world if you're not on the ball, or it can be just like smooth and easy. And
yeah.
so I feel for those people big time.
Oh man, like that was last year. I feel like the Calgary market was insane,
Yeah.
and people were being so reckless with financing conditions.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks it's like they use the term cash offer all the time. It's
Yeah.
cash. It's not. Most of the time, it's not. It
Yeah.
can be,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it's just they're not going to put a financing condition, and they
Yeah.
could be like you or I. We have no business writing unconditional financing
No.
offers, right?
No.
Um, and people were doing that nonstop. And I saw, I think, 3 homes last year come back,
Yeah.
you know, 2 or 3 months after it sold firm. And the story was the same. Didn't get financed. They thought they would. They wrote a
Yeah.
crazy offer and they lost their deposit, which is
Yeah.
usually like in those cases $50,000. So,
Or you get sued.
or you get sued.
You're
Yeah, they
signing
can
on, you're
literally
just like, I'm gonna get this. Like there are lawsuits that could happen from not getting that done to like, put together.
totally. If the seller then pursues another property and then he can't close or she can't close because of your negligence, it's like
Yeah.
that's dicey.
Yeah, man. Or like the thing to consider as well, it's like a lot of people think that mortgages is just like the money side. Do you know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
just like, income, the debt ratios work, like, and they get a
yeah,
pre-approval and they're like, okay, yeah, I can go in firm. You're like, no, no, no. It's like,
yeah.
because a lender can like they can turn down a house if there's like asbestos, or if there's
Hmm.
like if when they do the building inspection, something comes up that they didn't expect. Or and
Yeah,
I've had files where it's been like it should have been totally fine, but then this little like blip came up for the lender and they're like, no, we're not going to lend on that for
oh,
like random weird reasons. There's one file I was trying to do, and they're trying to purchase a place in this really, really rural town, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And it was the financing was weird. So we had to go with an alternative lender because just the ratios weren't working out. And so I talked to one like lender and they'd be like, we don't lend in that area. Talk to another lender and they're like, yeah, we'd be good on this, but it's like zoned part commercial. And so we're not even going to touch it. Another one,
yeah,
they're just like, yeah, the population area isn't big enough. Like one by one, it wasn't working for like, and we weren't able to put it together. And I was so thankful that they put in a condition of financing because if they'd gone in
yeah,
firm, we would have been like up the creek, or they would have to pay to like an alternative lender and pay so
yeah.
much money to get in this house. And you're like, you don't. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Even the sellers
No.
want that. So it's navigating that and realizing that the property really makes a big difference.
Yeah, the shine comes off at that point.
Yeah, big
It's
time.
such an emotional process, right? People write these offers going, I have to win. If
Yeah.
there's two other people that want this house and I saw the kitchen and I love it, or
Yep.
my wife or my husband works close, we have to have it. And then
Yeah.
when you're on the other side of that and they've accepted your offer and you have no safety nets,
Yeah.
now it's like you have to come up with it,
Hmm.
and oh, it can be brutal. Sign
Yeah.
with B lenders or doing
Yep.
whatever you can or losing the property completely. Thankfully, I've never had a client write and then not fulfill the financing.
Good.
But that's because I'm also incredibly conservative. Uh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just I'm thinking of that step because I've seen the other side of it. But the big thing too, people don't consider is they write these insane offers. They can say the house is listed for 650 and it's probably worth 650. And
Yeah.
there's 10 people writing on it. Well, someone comes in and says, I want it so bad, I'm gonna write 740,
Sure.
because there's 10 offers. We're gonna go crazy here. And 90,000 over, you have to ask if the bank's actually going to appraise it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I've seen that
Oh
numerous
yeah.
times where it comes up and it doesn't appraise.
Yeah.
Meaning of that 740, the bank says, no, the house is worth 650. We will give you 650.
Yep.
Where's that extra 90 coming from?
Yeah.
People don't consider it. They just think, well, if I write the offer, I'm approved up to nine,
Yep.
I can get 740. No, you
Yeah.
can't. Not if the
Yep.
bank says it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And they won't usually appraise, as you know, when it's 5% down. But if it's 20, like the more you put down, the more likely they are to appraise it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And because if and for a typical refinance, unless it's like an insured mortgage with like a 5% down on like or like under 20%, it's like
Yeah,
if you're doing a typical refinance or a conventional loan, it'll be max 80% loan to value, right? You can
yeah,
only borrow up to 80% of the home's value. So
for sure.
there are times where you're just like, man, we're putting the appraisal and we're hoping it's this number up here so we can get this number here.
Yeah,
And there are times when it does, and you're like, okay, sick, we're in the clear. And other times you're like, all
yeah,
right, we're gonna have to have another conversation because it doesn't quite come
yeah,
in where you want it to be.
yeah.
So, yeah, all the stuff, man.
And usually I feel like the appraisers are trying, if you're close enough, they work with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, because the amount of times I've seen an appraisal come through and it's like the exact amount we wrote at,
Yep.
like 923,000 and they appraise it for 923. You're like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and as long as you're being reasonable, I find that appraisers are
Yep,
usually like they understand, right? They like,
totally.
it's a subjective thing. They're looking at comparables, but there's a subjective element to it. But yeah, it's kind of wild that banks use such a subjective scale in order to be like, we're gonna lend this amount or out or not.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, send a guy out and he looks at the house and says, yeah, it's worth it or it's not.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, man. And every lender too, they have like their like list of approved appraisers. So there are some situations like, say if you go with like TD, you can't order an appraisal directly. You have to like go through like a system,
Mm,
their approved appraisers, where there
yeah,
are some other ones where you can call the appraiser directly, like and be like, hey, this is the place, and you can explain a little bit. And yeah,
yeah.
interesting how each lender and each appraiser is so different.
And even that whole world of appraisals, I mean, you know far better than I do, but I found issues with like acreage properties that are, 40 minutes outside of the city.
Yeah,
It takes forever to get it appraised sometimes because the
yeah,
appraisers are so swamped
yeah.
with Calgary. They're like, I can do four houses in Calgary, or
Hmm.
I can drive,
Yeah,
45 minutes to this huge farm and walk around 50, 60 acres,
yeah,
um, and try and come up with a number and then drive back. It like wastes half his day.
yeah.
Or you can stay in Calgary and just go one, two, three, and knock them off. So it's also a business in that sense, which is
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah, that would be, yeah,
Timelines.
because you only charge so much as an appraiser too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you're under the pressure of timelines, right?
Yeah. The best case scenario is when you have a place and either it's a refinance or it's a purchase and you submit it to the lender and they can do like an automated valuation model. So they can just essentially just go in their computer system, type in the address and be like, yeah, that's good. So they don't have to send an
Yeah,
appraisal at all. You're like, okay, amazing.
that's
Some
sweet.
lenders, some lenders are better with that than others.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want another one or what do
It's
we
good,
what do we
man.
want to do here? This one's not that like it's jarring in the sense of if you put yourself in those shoes,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Okay.
Um, this one's from Phoenix.
Cool.
And this is from a guy named John Knutson.
Okay. John,
So
shout out. Here you go.
John Knutson off his personal blog. A few years back, I was looking at townhomes with a buyer here in Phoenix. First time into this particular complex.
Yeah.
I gave driving instructions to my client. We met outside the property on time. It's all looking good. On this showing, the listing agent had advised me that they had not put a lockbox on the property. So
Okay.
typically we'd have a lockbox on that only agents can access.
Yep.
But instead, they had the seller step out before we would arrive and leave the door open. I've had that a few times. Not a big deal. Anyway,
Sure.
not the safest way, but works. Front door is unlocked as expected. We show up, head in, start looking around. The family room looks good. The kitchen was nice. The yellow lab was even walking around the main floor. Very friendly dog.
Nice.
As we finished up the first floor, we started to head upstairs. It was at this point I realized something looked a bit different than the pictures online. Something wasn't right. I quickly pulled up the listing on my phone, opened the pictures, and confirmed we are in the completely wrong unit.
No way.
Needless to say, we hightailed it out of there. Oh my goodness. That like it sounds so whatever, but that house was not for sale.
Yeah, they just like went right in.
And I've had very close encounters to this or very similar situations. I remember 2 years ago at
Yeah.
a condo building. They're so frustrating. Condo buildings are the
Mm.
worst
Yeah.
because you get these huge developments. There's like 300 units, and sometimes they have the same unit number, but they'll
Mm.
have like 10 buildings. So it'll be, unit two in building one, unit two in building two,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
always clearly marked. Anyway, I
Yeah.
remember downtown Calgary, I go, you show up to the fence outside and there's like a wall and it probably has like 20 lock boxes on it, like all realtor lock boxes.
No way.
And so how you open these lock boxes is you press the button, you open your phone app, the
Yeah.
Bluetooth connects and it opens.
Okay.
But a lot of realtors don't label their lockbox. So the
Okay.
first hunt is finding the lockbox.
Yeah.
I find it, get the keys, go up to the unit, first time ever in this complex.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying the key in the door. It will not open. I'm banging on the door. I can hear like the TV on in the house.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
condo units. So it's probably like, 1,000 square feet. I know they're sitting on the other side of that door.
Sure.
Anyways, I'm knocking on the door like I'm the cops, and I'm like, hello, you know. And I put the key, nothing, nothing, nothing. Finally, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't think they want to show it tonight or something's wrong. So I called the realtor. I'm like, the key's not working. And she's like, the key has always worked. We never had a problem with that.
Yeah.
She's like, are you sure you're in the right building? And sure enough, like I was in the same unit number in a different building.
Oh my goodness,
Stood
man.
there for like 5 minutes, knocking
No
on the
way.
door. I was so frazzled because I'm like, never been in that building, so it's all unfamiliar, right? You get the
Yeah.
keys,
Yeah.
you walk in, you're like looking around, you're taking it all in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm standing there. There's probably someone on the other side of that door, like in the fetal position, like calling the police. Because I'm so sure it's the unit. I'm like, hey, we're coming in.
Yeah. Hide it. Hide the stuff.
Get back
Oh
from the door. I'm
man.
about to throw a shoulder.
That's it. I'm showing you this house if it kills me. Bam, just go.
Yeah. Because keys are a problem. Like they
Yeah.
just are. Not even 3 months ago, I had a place where the key would not open the front door. And we're in an
Yeah.
acreage out in the middle of nowhere, and cell service is spotty. So I drive to a spot where I can actually get the realtor, and she's like, just get in however you can. The property's vacant. Just, look around. We tried the key for, I'm not kidding you, 40 minutes,
No
two
way.
different doors. That's a big, like, big, beautiful acreage home. The key does not work.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we've had issues. And my client went around the side, climbs up, went through a window, and like lowers himself down into the house.
No
And
way.
like, yeah, we called the realtor. She's like, yeah, if there's a window open, anything like that. There's no one home, and I know you guys have driven far out to see it. Just
Yeah.
see if there's anything left. And sure enough, there was a window, and
Oh my goodness, dude. That's
just to say we
amazing.
didn't buy it, but
That's the question.
things like that, it's like you're so turned away by that first experience.
Yeah.
You just feel like if the maintenance on the lock on the door is not done,
Yeah.
this house is not being cared for.
Yes,
You
100%.
know?
Yeah. Do we really want to buy this place if we can't even get the door open?
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got there from going in the wrong unit, but
It's there. You get in however you can get in, man. That's wild.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Love it, man. Love it. Okay, I got one more. This will be quick.
Okay,
Okay.
do
So
it.
also from Reddit. So after numerous convos but not getting her credit checked or spending money, this is from a mortgage broker. One of
Okay.
my clients just texted me about the new washer dryer, sofa, patio furniture, and bedroom set they just bought to the tune of almost $10,000. She said, I opened new credit cards for all of them, so didn't use my down payment money. All proud of herself. Supposed to close next week. We'll see if it actually happens. She's going to be homeless because of it. So this is the hilarious thing is when people are trying to buy a house, they think that they're just like, well, yeah, as long as I don't touch the down payment money, we're
Yeah,
good. But like if the lender sees that all of a sudden you open a new credit card with $10,000, that can kill
yeah,
it, absolutely
yeah.
kill it.
It's a
So one of the things
liability.
that we say to people is like, if you're looking for a place, don't buy a new car, don't
Yep.
finance anything, don't get at least get into the house. Then you can
Yeah.
do whatever you want, but just
Yeah.
don't do that before you get into the house.
Totally.
Amazing.
It's such a weird system. I feel like people they get the house and they're like, all right, I want a car now.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
that so many times where people get the house and it's like 3 months later they got this beautiful car.
Yeah.
But at least they waited the 3 months.
So with the 3 months, this is it.
That's insane.
Or for like jobs and stuff, right? So it's like lenders want to see and verify that you have a consistent income, whether you're self-employed or
Totally.
you have a job. So they look at letters of employment, T4s, and so they need to make sure you're employed. As soon as it closes and you walk in, you can quit your job the next day,
Yeah.
and they'll never know.
No.
You
Totally.
shouldn't. You should keep your job or at least keep
Yeah.
income coming in.
Certainly not advocating for that.
Oh, no, of course not. But it's like, for even like myself and yourself, we bought our homes when
Yeah.
we bought our homes with a certain income and employment, and then we
Yeah.
just pivoted, right? So
Oh,
yeah, it's funny, man. It's a funny world.
the pressure you feel when um there's certain scenarios, but one I find is when a family gets pregnant
Yep.
and both are working. There's all of a sudden you have a 9 month window to get them in the house because
Yeah.
they qualify on it. Because after that 9 months, maternity leave kicks in and the money's not the same.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's so funny. I've seen that numerous times where, they get pregnant, everyone's excited, but then they're like, we need a house or we need something bigger because right now we're in a 1 bedroom condo or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So you see that quite a bit. Circumstances change, so it's like we need to get financed right now.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Good, man. Cool. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the pod, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This is
it's a
great.
wild world out there, man.
It is. I mean, Another time I'll share some other ones, but
Yeah, you got a big long list. I got like 30.
I
Just
got a list. I got a list. When you do it, yeah, you see a lot of things out there.
yeah, dude, I believe it. Well, you more so than me because like for me, I never I have to go to a house. Do you know?
Totally.
I feel like with real estate, like, you're like, yeah, you're banging on doors, you're doing this stuff. For me,
Yeah.
it's more just like these credit things or the closing or appraisals and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what other people do in
Dude,
that,
like many times I've walked in master bedrooms and there's a guy just sitting there it's like sleeping. The landlord didn't tell him we're coming. It's
dude.
happened a few times.
You're
And
like,
it's
what?
jarring for both of us.
Yeah. It's like, go.
Anyway.
What's going Oh, it's great. For people who are in Calgary or want to learn more about you and your business, Drew, how can they find you?
Well, I can give you my phone number, but you can find me on Instagram
Yeah,
as
yeah.
Andrew Haggith. Yeah, email haggithandrew at Gmail. Any
Nice.
questions? Yeah, phone number, everything's on Instagram. I'd say is probably the best way.
Yeah, awesome. Well, my friend, thanks so much for coming on, for hanging out, and
Sweet.
cheers to a good year, man. 2025 is gonna be great.
Same to you. It's good to
All right.
talk to you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Cheers.
We'll see you.